Good morning, Columbus, Georgia. This is Mark LaJoye from the Mark LaJoye Show with my co-host and partner in crime here, Sarah Smith.
Hello.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you doing?
Good morning. We're doing great.
All right, so today we got a lot of interesting topics we're going to talk about. We're just kind of glance over these things a little bit, just kind of get you thinking. A lot of activity going on in Columbus. Obviously, we got stuff up going with the city council, the city manager's issue and the selection of that, and quite frankly, the hiding of it, I should say, more than anything. But there was also an interesting topic the other day, which was the airport authority came to talk to the city council, and Councilman Glenn Davis, which usually brings up a lot of financial issues. He brings up things related to the airport. And it just seems like something's being hidden out there. I don't know what it is, but it's a nagging question of mine. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. So one of the things I want to start off with is we're going to talk about the recent shooting at Brown University. And I don't know what your feelings are about it. I don't know what you've looked at, but I've kind of being from a law enforcement standpoint, I know a lot of these things, and I know what happens at university and security and all that stuff. What do you think? Just your, opinion about what you've observed to this point, Sarah.
I don't really know too much information on the Brown University. From what you've told me, I think that there is a compromise. And why this is important to us, because, hey, we have our own university, and we know CSU they haven't been, I guess, exempt from their, criminal activity or things that has happened on their campuses. So
they've had some tragedies there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like the rape and all that, and the abduction of that lady's vehicle down there, the parking garage on Main Street. They had a murder out on campus housing a couple years ago, right there in the parking lot. I don't know much about CSU's security cameras and things like that, but I know they have security cameras. I know they have these panic boxes, I think, are set up out there. They're got a blue light on them or something, or other. You can go and hit the panic box.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
Yeah, those are beneficial and stuff. But when you talk about campus security, you have to have, and I like I said, I'm no expert in what's going on at Columbus State University. But from my opinion, just knowing things about security and being in law enforcement all these years, what you have to know is you have to have a roving patrol, right? Several of them, several cars. And what you can do in section these university grounds off into section 1, 2, 3, and 4, however many sections. And then that officer would patrol that section. That you own it during your shift. You own it, and you know things. And the reason behind that is an officer gets very familiar with their sector. If they do it day in and day out, they know, oh, that car was there last week. Why is it still there? It raises questions, right? And that's what we do as law enforcement. We have a law enforcement presence, but we also watch for things, right? And in our patrols, we watch for things that are anomalies that kind of stick out, like suspicious vehicles, suspicious people wandering in campus.
Yeah.
Those are the things.
Can you give, the audience a quick overview of what happened?
Sure.
What did the case entail?
Yeah. So the Brown University, and I wrote a few comments down, and I'm going to take that right from there, just because I want to stick to the content of what we're talking about. So the Brown University and Boston MIT professor shooting was the guy, I'm going to mention his name only once in this thing, because I'm not going to give him any accolades, Claudio Neves Valente. Between him and the MIT professor that was shot, he was shot in the doorway of his home. There's a lot more going on there in that investigation, a whole lot more going on in there. And the news is being very careful about giving us any of the details, but I don't know, and I don't want to surmise what what went on between those two, but they know each other from Portugal. They were students in Portugal, college students, and they knew each other. And then they came over to the United States. The shooter guy came over in the United States on a student visa, and I know President Trump's looking at that really close now. What he's doing is looking at suspending a lot of those student visas because, number one, they're bringing terrorism, right? And some of these people have obvious backgrounds that are just, it's crazy. I mean, and we look at that, and when we find out the information, we're going, oh my God, why'd they let that guy in here? Why'd they let that gal in here on a student visa, for that reason? It's just a lot more questions. But the Brown University thing, the Providence, Rhode Island police, man, you talking about a screw up. I've never seen that investigation screwed up so badly. They could have got this suspect beforehand, but let it fester and malinger. So the investigation basically failed. But what really broke the investigation open was that day a homeless guy. Now listen to this. Excuse me. A homeless guy living in the building. This guy, he's living in the building, spotted the shooter, got a description of him, right? Why didn't the police immediately, start going, doing interviews and all that other kind of stuff? Because they were supposedly going around and clearing the building or whatever they were doing, but didn't sequester the students because those students, it's a holiday. They were doing their finals and they're getting out of Dodge. They're traveling down to Boston Logan, getting on an airplane and going back to wherever their home and their family is. Yeah. What a screw up. Absolute screw up. But this guy, he got the description after making contact with the guy in the building, despite overlooked at first. And the second part of this, he spotted the guy the next day or that day several blocks away. They met each other on a corner, and the guy took off running. But he was able to give the police a tag number, the description of the vehicle, and it had Florida tags on it. Yeah. Right? Now, I don't know if they put an APB out there, which is an all-points bulletin out for this vehicle, and they did or not. That was never mentioned in there. But these guys are a bunch of bumbling idiots how they handled this investigation. They have an attorney general that has thrown lawsuits constantly at the Trump administration, but, and he's just an idiot. Yeah. The governor, in those interviews, the governor stood up there like he was lost. I mean, he's just like, oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? It's totally screwed up. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad because, when parents pay for these universities, you always expect your children to go off and be in a safe environment. And I think, just like even from what you've told me, if you knew that someone was giving evidence about this criminal that's committed these acts, like why wasn't he taken more seriously? I think that is a concerning aspect of the way they handle things.
I mean, initially they said they had a suspect in custody. They had one guy in custody and then they let him go. What was he able to provide? What couldn't he provide? Did he provide a description? Was it the homeless guy? I mean, I don't know. There was not enough of that information put out there. And I know law enforcement hold back a lot of information. I know that. They hold it back, especially when they know the information, they know where the suspect's at, but they don't want to reveal anything that might get the suspect to run, right? So I get that part of it, right? And we run investigations, but the way it was handled was just such a bunch of bumbling idiots. You had the city mayor of Providence, Rhode Island, standing in front of every news interview, basically telling them, well, this is what we've done, this is what we did. The police chief, I'm sorry, I'm a big supporter of law enforcement. I am a law enforcement guy. But the bottom line is he looked like he was lost like a turd in a punch bowl. I'm not kidding. I'm just being frank. That's the whole thing. He was. Unlike the Boston shooting at MIT, this guy shot that professor in MIT. Boston, the federal authorities already handled that very quickly. They were able, very professionally and very quickly. And they found out, they found the guy in a storage unit, somewhere, within that area. But and it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound, so he killed himself. But at least there was a planning process. He rented a storage outfit and things like that. But I wanted to cover a few things that I think are really important with this. Is there was very few security cameras. What's important is now with security technology the way it is, which is important, you need to have, you should have somebody monitoring those cameras for real-time information, right? If somebody were they monitoring the cameras? That never came out. None of the reporters asked those questions. Were somebody monitoring the cameras at the time that happened? And it looks like to me, according to what I've understand, that there were only 4 security cameras in each building. Now, 4 security cameras. There's 46 buildings on Brown University campus, and you only got 4 security cameras in each building?
Yeah.
What were they monitoring? You have to have security cameras at the entrance, the exit, down the hallway of each one of these areas. Anywhere there's a door and exit, you got to have a security camera there.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to we do need a little bit of more reform when it comes to how our campuses are secured. And I think that the alarm is going off now, the 12 o'clock alarm.
Oh, yeah, I hear it, the 12 o'clock. Yeah, it's midday, folks. But you're right. Parents are paying for this stuff.
Yeah.
And you have these, I'm just going to say it, you have these liberal universities. I don't know. It's liberal universities, liberal governments are failing everywhere across the United States.
Oh, yes, I agree with that.
It's and we look at this and we don't hold these campuses or these campus presidents accountable for the things that's happened. We're not holding politicians, liberal politicians, accountable for things that are happening. They just brush it under the carpet.
Yeah.
Man, I can go so many different directions with that. It's ridiculous.
And it kind of goes back to like even with the Charlie Kirk thing, he had the top of the line security, but still how these people were able to take him out is still concerning.
And we're going to talk about the Charlie Kirk thing. From what I know, I've studied this thing. And I've listened to the Sean Ryan program. He had one of the guys on there that was actually one of his security guys. He was the guy that was holding his throat together, that kind of thing. I mean, he was basically dead at when the bullet hit him. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind. But there's so many unanswered questions.
Yeah.
Every one of these investigations are so many unanswered questions. But Brown University it's an embarrassment. It's an absolute embarrassment. And I had to laugh because the police chief said it was good old-fashioned police work that led to the conclusion of this case. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. It was not. It was a homeless guy who lived in the building that actually solved this case.
Wow.
And sometimes in law enforcement, just the littlest things help us in an investigation. You don't know what's important until it's not important.
Yeah, I agree.
When you get the information, you have to disclose it, and hold some information close to your vest, like I mentioned earlier, because it's important that you don't let the bad guy or bad girl know that you got the information, and we're still searching for it. But when you don't have the information, and they knew the description of this guy, they did not get on and tell them this guy was running around in a car with this plate number with this on there, because your eyes and ears are out there, And what did we always put out? The government always put, if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
Right? You see something, say something. We don't know if it's important or not,
Well, let this be a lesson, I guess, for other campuses on how to improve their security and how to just make students safe, It's already hard enough trying to get through all the classes.
Yeah.
Me as a student, even though I'm online, but still.
Thank God I'm done with that.
Yeah, like just trying to get through the classes is pressure enough. People are not always going to pay attention to the minute details. And so it's important that we have an institution that is taking care of these things for the well-being of everybody.
Right.
So hopefully they've learned some lessons from this tragedy. It's just sad for the kids and the people that lost their
that one
lives.
girl was from Alabama. She was from northern part of the state. Sad. And, and she was the president of the Young Republicans Party. And right there, a bright, upcoming young lady that her life is completely destroyed because of some idiot.
Yeah.
We don't know the motivation. But more importantly, I hope Brown University learns their lesson and they do something differently. If they haven't, then shame on them. They have a $9 billion endowment. Don't tell me they can't afford it.
Oh, yeah, they can.
Yeah. And, Brown University is considered an Ivy League school. It's a very small school. So it's not like they've got, a big population of students over there. But I hope they've learned some from there. And I think it's important that that we mention this stuff and people pay attention to it. I spend a lot of time on the internet overlooking different things. And again, you can't trust everything you see on the internet. But, me being a former intelligence analyst, for the military and being in a special operations realm, I know to sort through the bullshit, okay? What's real and what's not real. And I look at more than one source. Unfortunately, I look some of the liberal agencies because I can glean some things off of that information. But then I look at all of the different broadcasts and I glean information from them. And then I put what I call an INSUM, which is an intelligence summary. In my mind, I know when I put up just the highlights of what it is. And that's what's important. But enough of that.
Yeah, I guess we can.
We beat that dead horse to death.
Well, I think we could also start touching on, I guess, more current or local news.
Yeah.
What did you think about the whole controversy with Anker and the mayor?
I want to bring up this topic and the next one because it was a person that won't name and have him remain anonymous on this, wanted to bring up this subject, what I think is really important. But the mayor, I'm going to tell you now, there's no interest in transparent government here in Columbus. There's none whatsoever. I mean, and I'm a mayoral candidate for, Columbus, Georgia. And I'm not going to speak about the other candidates because the topics that I've looked at, they're flawed. They're completely flawed. And the reason I tell you that is because when we've spoken before, I go into detail about each one. I give you a detailed report as to what I'm going to do, just like we talk about crime and all those other things. So I give a detailed report on that. And you're just getting general topics from them.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back, I know I got a little off tangent, but getting back to the John Anker thing, the dust up with the...
Some of the things that he was saying, like, John Anker was making some valid points about what was going on as far as the transparency in the government, as far as the spending. And a lot of it had to do with the whole airport authority. So, like, we're talking about, like, all the money that's being allocated to the airport. And it seems like the United Airlines just, up and left us with the bill. They got what they needed. And like now, hey, we're affronted the bill for right now. And so, but some of the things that Anker was saying against the mayor, he was saying, hey, like you've done all this spending, you haven't really given the council or the public the transparency that we need to track why we're spending these monies and where is it going and who's responsible, who's actually paying for a lot of these bills. And so I think that, and then for the mayor's response, he called Anker reckless. I don't know. I don't think that I don't think that confrontation is reckless. I think it's because we don't have confrontation that we're in the mess that we're in currently.
Yeah, that's true. But, and I've got a little slant on John Anker calling things out. I'll get to that at the end of it. But the very beginning of this, listen, the city manager was fired, terminated in capital letters, okay, because of his inability to do his job. That's what it basically boils down to. Lack of leadership, lack of just understanding the subjects. And back in January and February when I was there, it was ridiculous as to the things that I was hearing and I was seeing. It was ridiculous that the city manager needs to have the thumbprint on everything going on in the city.
I agree.
I don't care if a toilet's not flushing in Columbus in one of the government buildings. He's got to know about it. And he's got to know what the resources are that go there and repair those things and do these kinds of things. Code enforcement doing their job. Man, I can get off on tangents everywhere, but I'm going to try to stick to the subject. But the bottom line is, I think what the mayor's doing and what he should have done under his administration, understand, he's still there until the new mayor gets called into that position. He was terminated under his administration.
Yes.
And he needs to select another city manager from, I guess they narrowed it down.
Yeah.
They're like 40.
No, I think I saw only 5, like the top contender.
No, but there were other submissions.
Okay.
Yeah, and they limited it down to 5, and then I think it was 3.
Yeah, but I saw one of them that was a former deputy. It was like a deputy city manager.
Really?
I saw a list. I gotta find it and then I can post it.
Yeah.
But that's what I've seen. And I'm like, we don't need any form or anything. We need a clean house. Like,
yeah, no, I agree.
We just need everything to be clean. I guess I'm tired of the current administration knowing that we have the highest property taxes in Georgia.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
We have already E-SPLOS. We have the OLOS. We have all these things tacked onto just our sales tax.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we don't need any more of that. And this is why I don't even think the people that are running, I think you are the best bet running. I mean, as far as you've been able to oversee a large sum of money, you've managed that as far as your security intel. Yeah. This is why I just do not trust anybody that's currently in line for the run.
Well, you got all these cheerleaders out there that are cheerleaders for these other candidates, and it's disappointing because some of these people were friends of mine. You know, some of them actually gave large sums of money to me in prior campaigns when I ran for sheriff. Oh, yes, the 4th, 5th time. Yeah, y'all want to attack me for all of that. I don't care.
You'll do it again, too.
Yeah. And we'll get to the propaganda part of that, too, which is really, it's kind of disturbing. But, the bottom line is you got all these cheerleaders and, I think she's got a better chance than you to win. Let me tell you something. The bottom line is none of us are going to win this thing. None of us are going to win it. They're going to shoehorn Isaiah Hughley into that position. No. They're going to do it. I'm telling you.
That evil.
I don't want to put that out there, but you know me, I'm a realistic person. I talk in realities. But a lot of people come across to watch his broadcast. So, well, then why the hell are you running then? Well, for the simple fact that if I run, then I'm watching you.
Yes.
And I'm not going to hide in the dark and allow them to hide in the dark and just kind of skirt around and do the things they want to do. If you put Isaiah Hughley in that thing, God forbid he's in that position, y'all need to move out of Columbus. I know I'm probably not going to stay here and live in here. I'll have my studio here and our program will be here, but I don't want to be part of Columbus because he is totally inept.
Oh my gosh.
Inept.
Inept is a gracious word.
I'm going to try to be nice here, but the bottom line is the mayor. This was done under the mayor's administration. It should have been selected, and we should have one coming in with the new mayor coming in and not leaving that selection. If it happens in your administration, then you need to solve the problem, and that's what really irritates me. Now, the thing with John Anker stepping up in there, I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't trust John Anker. I don't. I really don't. I'm glad that he brought some things up. That's great. And he's doing that thing. But I think he's got a larger motivation. And
Yeah, you think he'll be throwing in his hat for the mayor?
Oh,
he
wants to be mayor bad. There's no doubt in my mind he wants to be mayor bad, right? There's going to be one more candidate or two that are going to jump in January.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I think somebody's going to definitely try to make their way come January, maybe closer, maybe qualifying week. I think that we might be surprised at who throws their hats in the race for it.
Yeah, I talked to Senator Robinson the other day at the Muskogee County, Harris County Christmas party, Republican Christmas party. No politics involved. That was a great party. I mean, it was super. People were just there to enjoy themselves. You know, if you had a designated driver there, had a few drinks. A lot of people, were there and they were having the dinner, and the dinner was great. And it was good dialogue. And I got to see people that I hadn't seen for years, and it was interesting. But the more important thing is it was a break from politics for one night. And there wasn't much politics that was involved in it, but just people having a good time. And that's what's important. But I will tell you this, there's larger motivations that are going on here in Columbus, a lot.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's not for the good of the city. It's not for we're not looking at the best qualified candidates for this thing.
I agree.
You got a lot of people jumping in the race, and I won't mention one of my competitors. He called me on the phone here not too long ago, and he's probably going to call me again after he sees this broadcast. But the bottom line is, he said, "Are you really serious about running?" I was like, "Are you shitting me? Are you curious? You really?" Knowing me, the rank that I was in the military and what I achieved in all those years, and you thinking I'm just running for running? No, I don't do that. Okay, number one, like I mentioned in our last broadcast, is I'm in it to win it, and I'm in it for the long term. And if some of you, my former friends, want to vote for these other people, God, that's your vote.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to. You can do whatever you can vote.
Go ahead.
But just remember what you're doing. Just remember their strength in numbers.
Yes.
And there's going to be a runoff, folks. Isaiah Hughley is not. Randy Robertson, I started to tell this story, and I kind of went off track. But he told me, he says, "You're running for the runoff." That's what he said. And he's right. Statistically, he's right. If you got 8 people in there, you're going to have 4 in a runoff. There's no doubt. Minimum 3. That's I'm looking at 3 to 4. And there could be more. But nobody's going to walk away with 50 plus 1%.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it.
But you see, and this is, going back to when you talk about the propaganda, the little slights, the little bad words that sow seeds of doubt. Oh, that this candidate may not work or it's not viable. It's so disheartening. It's so annoying that, it seems like it has worked.
Yeah.
Like these little slights have worked in the minds of the Columbus residents. As opposed to thinking about, I'm going to stick with this person because they are the best person for the job. I don't care how many times I have to back this person. Yeah. I am in it to win it with this person, and I'm going to pray. I'm going to do everything that I can to ensure that this person wins. Of course, within power, within my, within reason and within my means, but it's very disheartening. And just even people from, some of the Republican parties that we have dedicated our time, sweat, and tears to, yes, there is an agenda that is not for the people at times. This is just to maintain relationships or to, get their person to win for their, I guess, underlying bottom line. And I cannot take it. You are literally, and I'm trying not to, I don't want to toot your horn or whatever, gas your head up, but you really are statistically, I guess, credentially, you are the best choice for this race as far as all that you've managed. And I hate that we have people in power that are able to sway that. It is very disheartening.
When just credentialing, we talk about credentials and qualifications. I started out an early law enforcement career when I was a young lad. I started out in a search and rescue explorer program in Michigan, Delta County, Michigan. And that's kind of how I learned the trade and everything that I wanted to go, I wanted to do. I drove with deputies. I experienced accidental fatalities, which were, the first time that I observed a fatality, it was pretty bad. There was 6 people that were killed in a vehicle. And right then whether the job is the job that you want to do, and I looked at it and sometimes I look back at it. It's not funny, but it's funny. But that night when we observed that, the deputies that I was riding with, we stopped at a restaurant and ate. I couldn't eat. I just couldn't eat. I couldn't say, how do these guys put that aside? But as training and time goes on, the tragedies and the violence that you see, it's everlasting. It stays in your brain forever. You never forget it. I can remember every shooting, every fatality, everything that I went to. And you have to understand with something like that, that's why you hear a lot of law enforcement guys, they get off on a tangent and they commit suicides because the effect of what they have is cumulative. It doesn't go away at the end of the day. You try to do that. You try to walk home. I don't try to bring a lot of the grief and things that I see every day or I've experienced in the past back to the family because they really don't know. That's my choice of profession. It's not necessarily the family's. And I experienced a lot of that in the military. 41 years and 6 months, I experienced a lot of death, both on the friendly side and the enemy side. I went through a lot of stress. And it's the same thing. Guys like us usually gravitate toward jobs if we're law enforcement or military or some kind of medic or something of that nature. But the qualifications, I'm going to get to the point here, is I started as a young lad, but I worked my way in. And when I came in the Army, I tried to get into the military police, and it just didn't work because they didn't have a school date right then, and it was going to be somewhere down the line. I said, no, I want to go. I got to go. And I think the most important thing is I said, someday I'll go back to it. But what I wanted to always do is everything that I've ever done is I educated myself. Whatever job it was in, whether it was police work, whether it was being a program manager on military contracts, which I did, and I managed well over $400 million in budgets. So I know how to handle a city budget. If you're managing a budget in a corporation, in a military corporation, well, it's the same thing. And as an interim command sergeant major, in a special operations battalion, you got somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 to 600 people, right? So I've done that at city level, and we're talking about city manager functions.
I know.
You got a former city manager couldn't even handle, a few folks or some information and got terminated because of the information.
He just gave it to his wife and his buddies,
I know.
Frat brothers. That's where our funds are going to. And unfortunately, those Columbus citizens, our bill keeps getting higher on property taxes while they're helping their buddies and forgetting about the rest of us. So,
but I want to bring everything back to the citizen in Columbus. I think that's what's important.
Yes.
And to kind of finish up the education and the background, I always took classes. I took hundreds and hundreds of hours and thousands of hours of classes. Sometimes I thought they weren't even relevant to a job, what I did. But now I go look back at it and I'm going, wow, that paid off. I remember that. I can do that. Both law enforcement classes, military classes I took, civilian program management classes, and all those types of things. Now they're paying off. Now I got that background and that education, and not only did I just educate myself, but I worked in it. I have the experience in that level. But these candidates are looking like, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do it. No, tell me detailed information on what you're going to do.
Specifics.
To me, I'm not from Missouri, I'm from Michigan, but show me what you're going to do. And we have examples we've already talked about examples on safety and security in Columbus. I think it's important that they know what my plan is. It's the same thing I've talked about time and time and time again. We will organize and we will develop a program and a task force that's going to take control of these gangs. Have you seen anything in the news headlines about a massive arrest on gangs and everything?
Nope.
Isn't that unusual? Isn't that telltale of what may be going on in Columbus? What the heck's going on? We see all these murders and everything's going on. They're talking about cases 2 years down the line that are coming now to fruition, to courts. And they're just like one cases, right? We know the gang that's in Columbus.
Yeah.
It's the Zohannans. They're involved in the drug and trafficking, human prostitution and trafficking all over the place.
Yeah, and something that I was thinking about the other day is like, or maybe it was this morning, I'm like, Columbus, our citizens should be placed first. You know, when the citizens thrive, it's a place that everybody wants to be. It's a place that, you know, is a great place to raise your children. Now, I do believe that Columbus, it used to be, and I feel like we're on the teeter-totter where it's one of those places like a black hole. Like you come here and you never want to leave. But we're losing that because we haven't cherished children and the family. Our schools are performing terribly, our public schools anyway. You know, we are losing amenities, even though I do feel like the administration has been making strides to, I guess, recuperate our parks and recreations. But like the people come first. The people are what makes a city and what makes the city thrive. And when our officials and our representatives, they lose sight of that, it's not them that's suffering. They're lining their pockets, but it's the rest of the citizens. And that needs to be kind of readjusted to where, hey, the people thrive, the people come first, the people are the ones that, you know, we're making these decisions for. And you know, we're going to make policies that are going to benefit the people. And I just, it breaks my heart to see it because I don't want to leave here. There's just so many, I guess, memories. Yeah. So many memories here in Columbus. So many good things that I feel like you want to hold on to, but you can't overlook the devastation that's slowly getting more. It's getting greater in what it feels like, and especially in the South and the East Side. Yeah. Who's going to speak up for them? And like, I feel like they have been brainwashed to think that these are the people that are going to help us out of that. Because, and it's sad because it's like, unless you're in the buddy system, unless you're in the, I guess, the club of these representatives or these leaders, it just feels like you're going to be completely forgotten. They don't care, you know? Yeah.
And you know, that's, I'll use an example. You got one candidate, District 7 that's running, you know, down in that area. And they got an Oakland Park Association and whatever that stuff. Great. Awesome. Good things. I watched Oakland Park dwindle to basically nothing down there. There are good people that live there. Trust me. Good people still live there in some spots. But I patrolled that area when I was in Columbus PD. And I watched the devastation, the degradation of that area so badly. There were some really beautiful homes down there. I don't know if you know the history at Oakland Park. It was a landfill. The edge of it was a landfill at one time, the very edge of it, and they built onto it and all that. But that was military housing for like colonels and stuff like that, right out the back gate. Baker Village was military housing for, you know, sub NCOs and things like that. Isn't that interesting that was a right off post, but that was military housing, right? That historically that area. And then what do? We give it back to, you know, public assistance and housing and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, they game ready. Yeah. And, you know, that just went right into the tank. And finally, you know, they did away with that place. And look, there's some great housing now around Columbus, you know, but that's the first topic. The Ledger Inquirer wanted to send me a bunch of questions, and all of them were related to housing. All of them are related to affordable housing. Well, The market drives that, affordable housing. And you were in real estate. You understand how that works. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is we have got to have a system, a checks and balance system. And what I want to do is I want to bring Oakland Park back up to what it was in the past. I used to patrol that area, and I had a lady who walked down in the park down there where the pools are and all that kind of baseball fields. And I was in there one day, and I was doing one of my reports, and she said, "Do you patrol here very often?" I said, "Well, ma'am," I said, "this is my beat." And she says, it's really gotten dangerous down here. And some of the ladies would love to walk down here and things like that. They stopped walking. Well, that lady was the mother of a police officer that was in Columbus. Mm. And I told her, I said, "You know what, ma'am, the days that I'm working, I worked what was a 6 and 3 schedule. So I worked 6 days and 3 days off, right? 8-hour days. I said, in the morning, if I'm on day shift, I'll be down here. And I'll pass that information on to the other officers." And it kind of become a habit down there. They sat and watched. And then all these ladies started to come out and walk in the park down there, it just shows you success with just a little bit of things that you can do where people can be so successful, just the thinking process of that.
Yeah.
And I'd love to do that. I would love to turn Oakland Park back into, here's the problem. Code enforcement in Columbus is not doing their damn job. There's houses that need to be abandoned all over that place down there. There's houses in Columbus that need to be abandoned. I got one up the street from me that had ivy growing up to the roof, to the top of it. And just a couple days, 2 weeks ago, the city finally came out there and done something with the property. I don't know what the heck's going on, but there's houses in Columbus that need to be abandoned. They got to be abandoned, either torn down, or I'm going to tell you now, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure code enforcement does their job. There should be houses that should be abandoned. There should be houses that should be torn down, or get with the ownership of that place and say, look, I'm not saying you ticket them right away, but give them 90, 120 days to make some improvements on there, because these properties are degrading the other people's properties around. The value of that. Yeah. You know about it in real estate. I mean, property values. And, that's what's important is usually a house is a one-time or maybe a two-time investment, if you're going into a home that's your beginning home. And it's kind of like your bank account. You put everything into it and you're expecting to get something out of the other end of it, right?
Yeah.
And so what I want to do is putting these cost-saving efforts into Columbus. I'm going to look at it. I'm not going to say I'm going to be a Doge program, but we're definitely going to go in and look at cost-saving measures into Columbus. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go in there and we're going to look at all these agencies, what they're spending and what they're not spending. There's a lot of money that's being filtered through fingers down here, and a lot of unnecessary purchases.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. It's just like with some of these authorities, I'm like, why do we have authorities that the city that doesn't answer to the city council, but we're expected that the city council fund these authorities? Yeah. I mean, I just think that that's kind of weird. It's like, who is getting the check to some, whether it's the airport authority or the water board authority? I'm like, who's getting these checks and who's giving them these checks, and why, if it is the city, why aren't they answering to the city council? Yeah.
Well, getting back to that, and we'll talk about that airport authority. That will segue into that. But the bottom line is we need to start thinking about giving the taxpayers back a tax break.
Oh yes, just like what Trump is doing.
Right.
I love it.
And that's what I want to do. I want to bring a tax break back to our Columbus residents. Good paying, tax paying residents need a break. Yes, I mean, our taxes are so high, it's ridiculous. But I want to do that. And to balance this a little further out, I want to look at state legislation and work with the state senators on there, both sides of the aisle, both Democrats and Republicans, and maybe pass this law where if you get above a certain age, maybe you're 60, 65 or whatever, we can work out the details on it. But that almost like they do with the military program. If you're 100%, you stop paying taxes.
Yeah, I would love that.
Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be awesome? Or even also looking at another program where if you rate 20%, you rate 30%, 70, 60, whatever, so on and so forth, that you get a tax break based on that, based on 20% of that average or whatever. That would, for the younger people, would still be tremendous.
Yeah.
If you're a homeowner now, and, apartment renter is a whole different ballgame.
Well, there's some states that are completely doing away with property taxes in itself. And yes, it does, it kind of transfers to your sales tax. But, you pay a little bit more on your sales tax. But some people are not even going to be, they may not spend as much. So you have and I don't even know what the Trump administration is doing. I think that they're going to do away with income tax, but then they're going to have a 30% sales tax on all your purchases. I don't know. I think that was in the works.
Yeah, I'm just not too familiar with that part of it. We need to do a little more research on it. But, the thing with no tax on tips and all those things that you had seen before, I think that's such a valuable program because there's ladies out there, and guys too, that work at restaurants and they make $1.50 an hour because, and you know what's really bad about that whole thing is the people that own those businesses, they're taking advantage of those workers. Really, I mean, $1.50 an hour. I know. I won't mention the restaurant, but my stepdaughter works at a restaurant, and at that restaurant, the people got up and walked out and didn't pay the bill.
Oh my gosh.
One by one, they walked out, and pretty soon when she came back, the table was empty. They made her pay for that. That's not her responsibility.
I know.
Because I could say if you're standing right there in front of her, right? If you're standing right there in front of them, then they walk. That's a different ballgame because you have a way to stop that. You're there. But she's going in the kitchen, getting drinks, getting this, coming back.
People.
And they turn out. You talking about a bunch of damn freeloaders, man.
I know. The fact that people would do that is just egregious.
Yeah, it's egregious. And just remember, folks, they work on tips now.
Yeah, tips.
They work on tips. So don't be so cheap. Don't be a cheap bastard, okay, and not tip them. I'm sorry. My wife, I'm getting on a tangent, but my wife, what she does is when the bill comes, she grabs it, right? Grabs the bill and is going to write on the tips. I said, no, this is what you're going to write. Because I want to make sure that unless you're just totally screwed up and you're totally not doing your job, I'm still going to give you a tip of some sort. It's just not going to be a very good tip, but it's going to send you a message next time you do this and you do that. But the bottom line is I tip these people because it's hard work.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard work.
I used to work at Red Lobster.
Oh, did you? Okay.
So I know exactly. And the tips were the things that was the lifesaver.
I know.
Lifesaver for us. And you make a lot of money. There is a potential if you're a good,
Yeah, if you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
You're good. And it's just taking care of the customer.
Exactly.
That's all it is. It's taking care of the customer. It's making sure they get the drinks, making sure they get them on time, checking on their order.
Yeah.
Checking on their order, make sure it's not sitting up there and going cold. That frustrates me more than anything when I go into a restaurant.
Very fast paced. Very.
It is. If you're not up to the fast pace, then you need to consider a different line of work. You really do. But yeah, tax on tips is one thing. And then getting back to the taxes. I want to do the tax program, but here's what I got to do. First of all, I got to stop the massive spending for bullshit that's going on in Columbus. Look, I'm still upset about this baseball park thing.
Me too.
I am so upset about this thing that it never came. We're talking about transparency. The public did not have a vote.
We didn't have it. Not at all.
We didn't have a vote in saying, people are adults. They're logical. They understand, is this a good idea? Is this a good investment? Considering we got potholes in every street, cracks everywhere. Our infrastructure is failing. We got water problems. You see the water authority, the guys from the water thing, they're out here digging up hydrants and poles and all that stuff because our stuff is failing. And when you don't invest in your infrastructure, this is the problem that you're going to have. It's going to fail because the population is going to increase, but the utilities are not going to support that.
I agree.
I mean, that's just common sense.
I agree.
Do we hear any of this from these other candidates? No, we don't. Crickets. Yeah, where's that thing? I got it on here somewhere.
It's on there. It's on the button.
But the bottom line is you're not getting any information out of these people as to what. I just want to be your mayor. Come on, man. seriously, think about a different line of work. You're just not going to make it. But the bottom line is I want to bring those tax breaks to those people because there's hardworking people. They deserve a tax break, right? And that's what I want to do. That's part of my program is to bring tax breaks back to homeowners in Columbus. Sales tax needs to drop.
Oh yeah,
it is crazy up here. The sales tax on what is it? 8%, 9? Is it 9?
We're at 9%.
Yeah, we're at 9%. The sales tax. It's ridiculous.
OLOS, the ELOS, and don't like. And
I call it no loss.
I know it's like we have lost so much. We have lost so much money, and it's just like, where is the money going? Where is it going? When you see things deteriorating around the city, where is this money going? You have $1 million. I remember they did a $1 million, I guess, landscape for the school board, $14 million, right? Oh. And it was for Hardaway and Columbus, and the steps at Columbus High School. They did do that, but I'm like, did that really cost $14 million? But I don't know.
But not only that, but look at the bailouts that they've done.
I know. Who's getting these kickbacks? Who is getting these backroom deals? Because I would like.
They bail out these apartment complexes. They bailed out these other things, and it's in the interest of citizens of Columbus. No, it's not. This is what I'm talking about. We do need a Doge program here. Yes. We do, because there's so much expansive spending, wasteless spending, instead of things that we need to spend money on. You got a sheriff's office, got a parking lot full of cars out there. You got a police department out there. They're not getting the right equipment out there. It's ridiculous on what's going on in this place. And we're going to put a stop to it. We're going to put a stop to all this expansive spending. As your mayor, I'm going to work closely with state legislation. I'll tell you that again. And sales tax issues, we're going to work closely with that because I want growth in Columbus.
Yeah, growth, yes.
We need mid-level growth, and large corporation growth is what we need. We need to do that, whether it's down here in the industrial parks that are, sectioned off for that kind of thing. But we got to bring in revenue. Yes. We got to bring in revenue. We passed that idea. Where did Kia go? Where did Miller Brewing Company go? We had an opportunity to bring Miller Brewing Company into Columbus. That was a long time ago. But number one, we had an opportunity to do that. So what do we need to offer these large corporations? We need to offer them some types of tax incentives, right? Because they're going to bring jobs. And everybody goes, well, they should pay their fair share in taxes. I agree. They should. But whether we do this incentive, whether it's the first 2 years, the first 5 years, the 6 years, something we can provide them an incentive to come here in Columbus. And that's what I'm going to do. The mayor took off recently on a junket to South Korea. Now, that's our sister city or something where he went at. That's ridiculous. I'm going to go there and spend the taxpayers' money on talking to corporations and say, hey, bring your stuff to Columbus, Georgia. I want to bring another Kia or another car manufacturing place or something here to keep the wealth in Columbus.
Yes, exactly.
And a lot of that transcends into crime. We're talking about crime. There's not enough jobs here. You got kids that are, going off on these. If we had jobs and ways to provide that, we have now. I think in conjunction with Columbus State University, Fort Benning, they have a UAV program that they're talking about. A UAV program. Man, that would be huge. And bringing it in, you'd have a lot of young folks that want to go into that type of field, just surveillance and doing those types of things. But I think it's huge. That's the wave of the future, folks. Computers, AI is definitely the way of the future. And it's not going to necessarily eliminate jobs, but what's going to do is it's going to create jobs. And they'll end to that.
Well, Mark, we are at 55 minutes almost.
Okay.
If you want to push that calming button, the calm music button, it's the orange one. No, I don't think that one. Okay. There we go. Yeah. Now, so if you guys just saw me sounding funny, we had an effects going on. But yeah, we're almost to the very end of this show, and I think we talked about some really good topics. Yeah, there you go. It got high.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go. Yeah, turn it down. There we go. this is our music out. And if you wanted to say something final, I don't know.
Yeah, folks, I just wanted to kind of lead out of this, and I appreciate you joining in and watching this program. This is kind of like our maiden voyage, and we're going to publish a broadcast as, down here in the studios. It should be we're going to look at 3 times a week. We're going to do that, and in advance, we're going to let you know who those particular folks are going to be when they come down. So we're looking at Chuck Hand, who's a second congressional candidate coming down. I spoke to him recently about coming on board, talking about his campaign and what he plans to do for District 2 of Georgia, which is very important. We got these midterm elections coming up, which are very important. We're going to get everybody out there to vote. I think it's important. But folks, educate yourself on who the candidates are. Don't get balled over and rolled over just because you like that person. Make sure that you look what they represent, what background they have, and what are they going to do for you as a taxpayer. So that's one of it. I think we need to close this program out, and you have the good rest of your Saturday and your weekend. God bless you all.